Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tao of the Day. I am here talking about the Tao Te Ching. If you are not familiar with the Tao Te Ching, it is an ancient text written about 600 BCE. It's about the same time that the Old Testament was written, and well, at least that's what scholars say. The Tao Te Ching was written by, presumably, was written by Lao Tzu, a guy who, there's varying stories, and we don't have to get all into that, but it is a text that we have and we've had for a long time that really focuses on where we came from and really was, it's interesting in the story of how it was written and in the story of Lao Tzu and everything. What we see is, hey, this is how it used to be. I'm noticing shit's changing. Don't lose this. And, I've been thinking about the last number of generations that we've been going through, the last 100 years or so, and we've really, maybe 250 years really, we've been slowly and moving inextricably, maybe that's the word I want to use, towards logic and towards this masculine understanding of the world. And there is a place for the masculine, but I do believe that the masculine has taken more than its fair share, and there's going to be a reckoning with that, and that's cool. We want a reckoning with that. We don't want to use force, right? We all are gifted with power within us, and the Tao really wants to give you that power back. And I think when the Tao was written, when the Tao Te Ching was written, and when we were kind of transitioning into this state of logic, into a world that was going to be ruled by logic, it was coming out of a world that was ruled by relationship with others and oneself, but not in the way that we look at it logically, right? I kind of feel like there was a time before marriage in which relationships were more fluid. Relationships weren't about defining the relationship, weren't about defining one thing or another. Money and commerce wasn't there. It was relationship with each other, relationship with community. And then the logic aspect came in to give us what we understand as independence, right? Um, Rather than give us our individuality. Right? So independence and individual are two totally different things. You can't be independent. You are indivisible from everything else. And so the Tao gives us that. And if you have a number between 1 and 81 you'd like to pick, it's just your favorite number or a number that you keep seeing, anything like that, I want you to step up and we'll talk about that number Tao. And there are 81 chapters, which is why it's a number between 1 and 81. And I want to invite you up to share in my reading of the Tao Te Ching. So, for those of you who haven't joined me for the Tao before, picking a number doesn't mean you have to know anything about that number. It's kind of like picking a card in tarot. You pick a card and we talk about it. We talk about how is this relating in your life today, and whether or not the Tao was written to be used like this, I don't know, but it is the way that I enjoy using it, and I want to share with you some of the Tao and what it has to offer. So, I'm looking through, and I'm, like, I don't even look at numbers always anymore. Alan's going to join me, and he's going to pick a number between 1 and 81, and we'll talk a little bit about the Tao. Thank you for joining me. Hey, Alan, how you doing?
Hey, Martin. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I don't believe we've talked before. Is that true?
No, we have talked once. I just took a very long hiatus from the app.
Mm. You and many people. It's a, I do like that about all sorts of apps and social media where it's like you do it and then you step away from it and sort of reassess your relationship with it and other things in your life in general, and then maybe you come back, maybe you don't, and maybe you like just reevaluate what it is it's offering you.
Yeah, it was something along those lines, and then I've done that a few times as well with Instagram, and now that I'm trying to sort of like reassess or like restructure my life with what I'm doing, it's sort of balancing out. Um, Hence the return.
Yeah, I do that even with stuff in my life. Like I'll be starting a project and it'll just kind of like take over a little bit. Just be like, okay, I'm thinking about this way too much, or I am turning to this way too often, or whatever. And it's just like, I gotta let me just put it down and see what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I really like that in relationship with the Tao as well, because so much of the Tao kind of talks about like that idea of like, well, let's wait and see. Like we don't have to make an assumption about it being good or bad, but if I can't let it go and I don't like that, then I have to let it go. Right? Like I have to test the waters and see if my assumptions are correct.
Amen.
Yeah. It's always good to play in our life, and I kind of feel like that's playing. Like as an artist, I remember there was a time when I would make a painting and there'd be a section of the painting that I really liked, and I would purposefully, if I were to get stuck on that painting, I would purposely get rid of the part that I liked the most, so that I could see the painting without having to focus on that thing that I liked, and then the painting would always come together.
That's actually very interesting from a writer's perspective as well, because we tend to sometimes suffer from like writer's block, and a lot of the times, because I've taught writing as well, so a lot of times I get people asking, like, how do you deal with writer's block? And my advice, or my experience has taught me that writer's block is nothing more than your creative rhythm or your creative flow basically telling you to take a step back and look at what you've already written, because something in it is what's causing that stagnation. It's almost like life as well. It's like when you
Yeah.
stagnate in life, you have to sort of take a breath and step back and look at what's working and what's not working. And it's the same with writing. You step back and you look at what you've already written, and 9 times out of 10, there's something within what you wrote that is causing the stagnation. Like that's causing it could be like something like a plot hole, it could be something as minor as an action that a character did that wasn't necessarily, let's say, in alignment with the outline. It's always something within what you've already sort of established or written that you sort of need to step back and look at from an objective perspective in order to build on it and move forward.
Yeah. So and like you said, this is life. Like
Yeah.
like if you feel like you're living in some sort of a space that is stagnant, or if in some sort of space that is taking you into a direction that you're unsure of, it's just like it's good to just kind of like, whoa, 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 let's look at what's going on, let's take a pause, and let's just sit with it and wait and see. Let's see how this is going to work itself out, or if there is something I have to do to actually like mix things up a bit.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm glad that we got to like when welcome back. Let me just say, like
Thank you.
yeah, it's good to have fresh eyes, and it's good to be able to like look at things fresh. And so I'm grateful for you coming back, and then coming to visit me, because like I mean. I'm and like I'm glad that we have talked before, but and I'm looking forward to doing that again. So, um, number between 1 and 81.
I'm going to go with 9.
9. Beautiful. So we are reading. I have written a version of the Tao, and that's what we're going to be using. And if we need to look at other translations, we can. So 9, interestingly enough, this is titled "The Danger of Extremes." Having
Interesting.
to having to prove yourself will allow challenges to best you. Focus your attention on money and loss, and lose sight of what is valuable. Keep in mind outside influence, and you will be its prisoner. Do what you do and move on. It isn't yours anyway. Wow.
Wow.
That
Uh,
is that is like everything that we were just talking about.
no, I mean, you have no idea how 100% accurate that is to what I've been dealing with this week, because it hasn't been a great week uh
Hmm.
in terms of finances and in terms of work and in terms of uh we recently found out that my dog is has terminal cancer.
Oh,
So we're in the midst of spending whatever remaining time we have with her, but it's been such a extreme, I guess,
yeah.
couple of days, because and I've literally allowed that extreme sort of narrative to hit me like a tidal wave, and I've
Mm-hmm.
sort of lost. Yeah, I'm like, the feeling of drowning and being overwhelmed is literal. Like,
Yeah.
so that number is essentially how old my dog is, and I just went with that, and it's insane
Oh.
that that's what it says in the book. It's wow.
Oh,
I'm at a
yeah.
loss for
That's
words.
yeah. So let's just sit with this for a moment and just kind of like breathe this in, because like sometimes just stillness is really important, especially after receiving something like that. Hmm. That feels good. So, as we start to go through this again, there's this first line, which is having to prove yourself will allow challenges to best you. How do you see that at this moment? What does that mean to you?
Uh, hashtag I feel seen. Uh, it's interesting because I think this idea that we as humans constantly feel the need to prove ourselves worthy of something, whatever that thing is, especially in the world that we live in today, with social media and all that stuff. I think this idea that you have to prove yourself worthy to other people, I think is I think
Mm-hmm.
that's sort of what I pick up on it.
Yeah.
And this reply of, like, having to prove yourself will allow challenges to best you. It's the sense of, like, if you are constantly trying to prove yourself worthy to other people, you are never going to feel worthy.
Right. You've already been bested
Yeah, like,
because you're
you're
looking
not gonna
outside of yourself.
exactly. You're not gonna feel worthy. You're not gonna feel worthy of anything that you're doing, and anything that you do is gonna feel infinitesimal, even though it's not. Even though it is your success story, even though it is your victory, it's going to be shadowed by that lack of, you know, um, proving yourself, I guess,
Yeah,
if that
that
makes
that
sense.
lack of self-faith in who you are. As it
Yeah,
like if you have to prove yourself, there is an internal doubt in yourself to begin with.
100%. Yeah, there is that. Yeah, there's that, and that's the thing. I think the majority of us have this internal doubt ingrained in us anyway, because of the way the world works. So when you activate that by trying to prove yourself, it becomes a beast. It's no longer this, like, small little voice. It becomes this, like, impossible to defeat foe, which is, again, why I feel like the book or the translation is all about, like, you've already been bested, because there's no way you can beat that foe, because you've
Because you're
already
feeding
given
it.
away your power. Like, you've
Yeah,
already given away your power.
that's right.
So you're not gonna,
You've all you you've already agreed with the fact that, well, I'm not good enough. So let me prove that I am. Like if
yeah,
you have to prove that you're good enough, there's an assumption that it's possible for you to not be. And
right.
there's not. There is no possibility for you not being good enough. And then we look at these two examples of that. Focus your attention on money and lose sight of what is valuable. So if you don't have enough money, you're going to lose sight of what in your life is actually valuable. Keep in mind outside influence, and you will be its prisoner. And that's the thing. Like every time we look outside of ourselves, like we're just becoming a prisoner of that. And if we start from the point that we are not, that we have to prove ourselves, as you said, then we're starting from a place of already agreeing that that needs to be done. Like, and we don't.
Right. Right.
And this
Yeah.
this this last line, I think, kind of wraps this interestingly, because if you can do that, if you can get to the place of not having to prove yourself, then you can just do what you do. And that's what this last line says. Like, do what you do and move on. It isn't yours anyway. What is that? How does that
That's,
mean?
I mean, that line is so powerful. I'm just gonna come at it from a writer. Like
Mm-hmm.
just gonna come at it from a creative or from an artist, from a writing perspective. It's whatever you write at some point when it's on the page, at some point when it's in the hands of a reader somewhere out there in the world, it's not yours.
That's
It's
right.
theirs. It's it's theirs. It's their imagination that's now taking over. It's their like co-creation that's taking over, because you need that reader's imagination to bring your world to life. Like, so you've already, it was never yours to begin with, it was theirs. Like, you were writing this book so that it is in a reader's hand. You're
Yeah.
painting the painting so that somewhere someone buys it, puts it in their house, and then they have a relationship with it. And it's this idea that nothing that you create is really yours, because everything that you create is shared with everyone else on this planet. So because
And that's
we're all co-creating everything together, you
that's
know.
right. And that relates to your life as well. Remember, like this started with if you have to prove yourself.
Right.
You are still co-creating, which means everything that you do, everything that you write, it's not yours. It is coming from somewhere else, from all of the experiences that you've had. You're not doing this in some vacuum. And when it goes out in the world, it's not yours because now it is just contributing, and it's contributing for a purpose, and you don't have to prove your value. You don't have to prove that what you're doing is worthwhile because you're doing it. And the
Right.
proof that you're doing it means it's worthwhile. It means that you're worthwhile and you're here. I'm going to read this one more time. Having to prove yourself will allow challenges to best you. Focus your attention on money and lose sight of what is valuable. Keep in mind outside influence, and you will be its prisoner. Do what you do and move on. It isn't yours anyway. Final thoughts.
Just, I mean, it hits home. It hits home, and it's so true, and at the same time it's so like, it's sad to know that we still give away that power more often than not, when the answer to it is so simple, which is stop giving away your power. Like,
Yeah.
stop giving away pieces of yourself that you shouldn't,
Stop
like,
thinking you have to prove anything.
right, exactly, you have nothing to prove.
Right. Like you are perfect. There's
Ex-
nothing here for you to prove. And I always like to say, don't let your definition of the word perfection rob you of yours.
oh, that's beautiful. Ah, thank you, Martin. That's
Absolutely.
amazing.
I'm so glad that you get to came up. Welcome back,
Thank
and I hope
you.
you have a wonderful day today.
You as well. Blessings to you. Take care.
Absolutely, thank you. Well, that was beautiful. If anybody else has a number between 1 and 81, definitely come up. I loved reading over that. The danger of extremes, man. Like having to prove yourself is such like one of the worst things about having to prove yourself is when you do prove yourself, you get rewarded. And so you go out and try and do it again. Kristen, how are you doing today?
Good morning.
Good morning.
You you are on another road trip with me and the husband.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Well,
I'm like,
well,
honey, can we listen to Tao of the Day? He's like, sure.
sure. Like this is a fun. This is a fun. I love being with the fam. Come on now. Where are we
Yeah.
headed?
Well, we are in Georgia, and I was actually texting with your love last night, which is funny because I'm like, now I'm on your time zone.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, we're in Georgia. We brought my daughter to visit her father, and so we are just boogieing down I-75 right now, headed to Savannah, Georgia. Flew
Oh
into Atlanta last
nice.
night. Yeah, we're gonna have a little
All right.
adventure for 3 days.
Well,
So I'm
that'll
glad to
be
be
that'll
on
be that'll
here.
be fun. What's that?
Yeah. I said, so it's fun to be on here with you, because sometimes I
Yeah.
miss you on here, and I'm like, yay, Martin John's on. I just,
Yeah, and that was a beautiful translation that we did of nine, and so what
I
what
was just
what
thinking that,
yeah, what a beautiful way to go through it, and with somebody that it's always so poignant, like I can't
dude.
I can't fool myself. What's that?
It was poignant to me. It was,
No,
I
good.
was listening to it. I was like, yeah, isn't that the thing right there for
That's right.
sure?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great translation. And before we get started, I just wanted to say I really liked your rendition, if that's the right word to call it,
Yeah,
of
that's
number
what I'm
9.
calling it because
A rendition.
I'm not really
Yeah.
translating from the original text, but I am writing a rendition from multiple, like I'm looking at like six or seven different translations and like coming up with what I think it's supposed to say today. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's all kind of being fed to me just like everything. So,
Yes.
it's not mine anyway, and I'm going ahead and writing notes about my rendition, and then once that's all done, I'll be releasing the book and stuff digitally, and then maybe print on demand and stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my question is you're not thinking your way through this, I bet, that you were just kind of feeling your way through it and allowing your rendition to come through. Because it's not
Yeah.
yours anyway. Because it's not yours
Right. It's
anyway.
not mine anyway, so it's not like I'm trying to own it, but
Right.
like, and I'm gonna be, and I don't know if you've heard this, but I'm gonna be doing watercolors for each of them and making like Oracle deck and some other
Yes,
stuff.
yes.
So like all of that over time, and really it's just because it's been in my life for so long, and now people have been telling me for the last year since I've been on Wisdom doing this, like, you should write a rendition, you should write a translation. I was like, yeah, I will when it's time or whatever,
When
maybe
it's
maybe
time.
not, and it's time. So
Isn't it
there you
funny
go.
when time happens? Because I had another book in me, and my husband was like, "Start writing a book," and I'm like, "Nope, nope, nope, nope." And then finally, January of 2022, I was like, "Guess what? It's time."
It's
It's like
time.
time just kind of shows up, and you know it. You know
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was just a couple months ago that I was just kind of sitting around and I was just like, huh, interesting. I see something changing,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it was like, well, this is what I'm doing now. And
Yeah.
just I mean, I don't even remember really when it changed from not writing a rendition of the Tao to now I'm writing a rendition of the Tao. I can't look back and tell you when that happened, when that shift happened.
Yeah.
It just happened
Yeah.
and here I am.
And I think that's the beauty of flow right there. When I was writing my book that I was just writing, so many times there was like time frame type things. And I had to say this to the people. I'm like, I don't know really when any of this happened.
Yeah.
This was just like in the midst of all of it. So my best guess was within a year. Those are the type of things that I said in there because I wasn't keeping track of
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
So number, I don't know. You guys are driving.
Yeah.
Is there a
Oh no,
what's your
he's driving. We're number. Do you want to pick a number, babe? Yeah, I'm thinking the speed limit's 70. So okay, you said the speed limit's 70, so we're going with 70.
70 is titled These Teachings. These
Okay.
teachings are simple and transform lives, yet mere intellect cannot grasp them. These teachings are older than life and benefit all things, yet people prefer the manifestation. Very few people will ever truly understand what is written herein, but for those few, these pages will guide them to themselves. Meanwhile, they will be labeled as coarse and uncaring. In the manifestation, they are seen as dull and disinterested, yet in their heart shines a light for all things.
Wow. The first thing that comes up for me with this is when I read things, like spiritual literature or whatever it is that I'm reading, a really great book, those things absorb into me and they just become part of me without me, quote, studying them.
Yeah.
Like,
Mere
like I
intellect
don't
cannot grasp them.
know. Yes. I was reading something yesterday and I'm like, wow, I know this.
Right.
Probably because it's the second time around I read this book, but I would never, like, it's just become part of me to
Yeah.
where it's just the way I think now rather than it's like I'm reciting something that I remembered. Is that Read that first part again, Martin John? That was
Yeah.
really interesting.
These teachings are simple and transform lives, yet mere intellect cannot grasp them. These teachings are older than life and benefit all things, yet people prefer the manifestation. Very few people will ever truly understand what is written herein, but for those few, these pages will guide them to themselves. Meanwhile, they will be labeled as coarse and uncaring, because in the manifestation, they are seen as dull and disinterested. Yet in their heart shines a light for all things.
Okay, first of all, I just have to give you applause for your writing is beautiful.
Oh,
It
well,
is it is so Tao feeling. It like has that same exact potent energy to it, Martin John. So bravo to you. Number one.
thank you. Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
And we're on wisdom, so it's a kudos. It's kudos.
It's what?
It's kudos.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, kudos to Martin John. That's true. So that's that's what. Okay. The other thing that's coming up for me. How much time do I have? I don't have my glasses on. Oh, 7 minutes.
7.5.
Um,
Yeah, you're good.
okay. The other thing that's coming up for me is that when I started to, I just call it shift, heal, morph, grow, evolve. I don't even know what I call it. When
Yeah.
that really big chunk happened, about 10, 12 years ago, when I went to write my first book, I had a really difficult time wording it
Yeah.
because I was not taught what I was feeling. My healing happened from the inside. And in the
Mm-hmm.
same type of way we're talking about, like it was this absorption. So it wasn't like I read words on a place that said, go find your self worth or, that type of thing. I didn't even know I was healing my self worth. I didn't even know that was
Right.
what was going on until later. But what I'm getting is that this absorption happens, and then I had to, didn't have to anything, but I chose to find words to it. And that's what I've been doing all along is, in the past 12 years is finding words to, to express what the change. And
Yeah.
like if I'm getting this number 70 correct, some people love that and some people think it's just boring drivel.
Right. Like that's what like so this is the two parts of this that are being kind of pointed, right? Like one, you know, the teachings that are within this, the teachings that, you're searching for words to express can transform lives. Because but just mere intellect can't grasp them. So no matter how many words you read, the
Yes.
more you try to
Yes,
intellectualize
yes,
what it is
yes.
you're experiencing, the more you're actually missing the point. The
Yes, yes,
teachings
yes.
the teachings are older than life and benefit all things, yet people prefer the manifestation. People prefer to read the words and just live in the manifestation, because in that manifestation I can prove without a shadow of a doubt that I am healing because I am doing these things that this book says I should be doing.
Right.
Right. And so that's what we were talking about in number 9 as well. This idea that I have to prove myself. But in proving
Yeah.
yourself, you solidify yourself more with manifestation. Now, there's an interesting part as we kind of move into this next section. Very few people will ever truly understand what is written herein, but for those few, these pages will guide them to themselves. So, like that's Tao. If you can really understand Tao and stop talking about it, stop trying to prove that you're Tao and trying to prove that you're anything, like you will be guided to who you are, not what Tao is, because you are Tao. And so there's no separation there. This is really interesting as we get into this last section because I remember you talking to me about you and your husband sitting down and going, "Hey, is there something wrong with me because I don't want stuff?"
Yeah, yeah.
So as we kind of move into this last section, we're recognizing that no, there's nothing wrong with you. The world is seeing you as dull and disinterested because none of that is fulfilling, and you know it. Meanwhile, they will be labeled as coarse and uncaring. In the manifestation, they are seen as dull and disinterested. Yet in their heart shines a light for all things. You can't prove that. No one can prove that there is a light for all things in your heart. No one can prove that you are upholding Tao. It can't be proven. You can write about it all you want, but you could still be just fooling yourself.
Yeah.
And so,
You know,
really being this is what we have
ah,
here.
okay, that's exactly my experience. So this is wording my experience again because a lot of times I this change, whatever, the evolution that happened inside of me was not from reading words and intellectualizing them.
Right,
I didn't
right.
I didn't do that. And which
And
is
if it
why,
was, you would just be stuck in manifestation.
well, that's, yeah, I think if that was the case, I could recite books, which I can't quote shit. But
Right.
right, I can't quote anything. But the reason why I need to read rather than listen to audiobooks is because I absorb. So when I'm reading, I go real, and I get something, I will read that same line 3 times and I won't think about it. I feel about it. It doesn't go through my thinker, it goes through my feeler. And so a lot of time when I'm speaking from that same feeler rather than from my thinker. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're limited to that.
No, but it's
And
been
so
my experience. So it's really
right,
crazy that
that's been your
you're wording
experience
it.
and it's just like I always want to kind of keep people open. And so when you say I have to read and not listen to audiobooks, okay, that's great today, right? But maybe as you continue to heal, you'll be able to absorb in other ways. Maybe that won't even include audiobooks. It won't even include books at all. Maybe it's just going to be absorbing by sitting in a park and watching the wind go through the leaves. Right? Like
Right.
like because it doesn't matter. And you don't have to limit yourself to anything. You don't have to say I do this, because when we say I do this and not this, we are identifying with something that is in the manifestation. And
Uh,
really, you are deeper than that. You are more than that. You are,
right.
and so all of those things, and in the manifestation, we want to be something, we want to define, we want to identify as something, but
Yes.
we don't
So
have to care. We don't have to care how it comes in.
exactly. And now that you're saying that, well, saying I have to is just a poor choice of words. Say I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
saying that's the best way
yeah.
that I have learned. But
Yeah,
now that you're saying that, that's just bringing from the back of my head to the front of my head to my consciousness that I do that as well.
right.
So the whole point is that it's through the feeling, through the feeling of absorbing of whether it's nature or words or whatever, it's through feeling for me that my healing happens.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's going to continue happening every moment of
Yes.
every day with everything.
Yes. Like right now on this freeway. It's amazing.
It's
I love
beautiful.
you, Martin John. Thanks for having me
Yep.
on, buddy. I can see it
Absolutely. You
now.
guys have a safe trip, and love you. Have
Okay.
and sit with us today.
I'm going to. It's awesome. Thank you so much, buddy. Bye.
Absolutely. Bye bye. So I did have somebody else in the queue, but they're gone. So if anybody wants a number between 1 and 81 and to have a little conversation about Tao, I would be happy to have you up. Johnny is going to join me. I don't know that I've spoken to Johnny, but it might be like Alan, where we haven't spoken in a while.
Hello, Martin John.
Hey, Johnny, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. And no, this is the first time we've spoken. I'm
Okay.
relatively new to wisdom, and I have listened to you a few times before, but I haven't plucked up the courage to actually join you for a conversation or actually pick a number yet.
Well, yeah. Well, it's a pretty simple and I hope it's going to be pleasant and then
Oh,
and
absolutely.
yeah, and not difficult. But hopefully you don't need too much courage to come up. I'm really glad. So you sound like you're in the afternoon right now.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm based in London, in sort of the UK. So I am in
Yeah.
the afternoon. So yeah, but
Yeah,
and
it's you never know where people are. But I'm just but I just wanted to. You might be in New York. Who knows? You just have an accent that denotes England.
no, I've listened to you a few times before, and because of the time zone differences, I don't know how it's for me. It's kind of pot luck whether I get to tune into you or not.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you come on at a regular time each week, or it's just go.
No, I there's kind of a 6 or 7 hour time frame that I will do Tao of the Day. I usually try to do it top of the hour. I'm in Chicago, and so I try and kind of trying to do it in the morning sometimes. Some days I have flights, and some days I have other things going on and whatever. And so I try not to do it any later than 10 a.m. Central Time, but I can get on as early as 4 a.m. So
Oh wow.
yeah.
Okay, well that's good to know, and I'm glad I was able to catch you today.
Absolutely, I am as well. I always like to bring people on. So, do you know about the Tao Te Ching, or are my talks like introductory to you, or
They're relatively introductory. I used to do a lot of Tai Chi and Qigong, and
okay?
so I was once given a book. Uh, I think it's called "Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life," and
Yep.
it's Dr. Wayne Dyer's sort of interpretation of the Tao Te Ching.
Yeah, yeah,
Is- And
absolutely.
so I've read some of that, but I'm very interested to get your take, really.
Yeah, well, wonderful. Well, I would I love playing this little game of pick a number, and so any number between 1 and 81, and we'll look at a verse.
24, please.
24. So this one is entitled "Do What Is to Be Done." Standing on tiptoes robs you of firm footing. Rushing ahead robs you of knowing where you are. Looking at yourself robs you of seeing. Boasting of yourself robs you of your brilliance. Overpowering others robs you of your power. Clinging to your work robs you of longevity. If you want to align with Tao, just do what is to be done and then stop.
That's I had not realized that until just now, or until listening to your previous caller, that actually the interpretation of the verses is so different. So Dr. Wayne Dyer's interpretation is quite different to what you've just said, and actually I prefer yours. uh,
Well, thank you. I
yeah.
appreciate it.
Wow. Okay. Because I was under the impression that a lot of this verse was about gratitude and being appreciating what sort of you have now at this moment in
Well,
time.
it should be said that Dr. Wayne Dyer, most of his career is revolved around that message of gratitude.
Ah, I see. Okay.
So everybody that interprets it cannot take themselves out of the interpretation.
Yes.
right? And so I am within this interpretation as well. Of course, I attempt to take myself out just as Wayne Dyer would attempt to take himself out. But it is impossible to take ourselves out completely, which is why we were, called, for lack of a better sense, for lack of a better word, to do this, because this translation needs to be out there as well.
I see. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I can read it again, or if you have thoughts.
I was wondering if you could read it again, because I'm a bit I'm I initially, as you were reading it, I thought I'd read along with the Wayne Dyer version, but they started to, obviously they went off in sort of different directions. So if you could reread yours again, I would appreciate that.
Absolutely. Standing on tiptoes robs you of firm footing. Rushing ahead robs you of knowing where you are. Looking at yourself robs you of seeing. Boasting about yourself robs you of your brilliance. Overpowering others robs you of your power. Clinging to your work robs you of longevity. If you want to align with Tao, just do what is to be done and then stop. So, initial thoughts.
I think it's the last line that really sort of sums it up for me.
Yeah.
And you you need to do what needs to be done. You know, I and it's very. There's a guy called Dan Millman. I don't know if you've come across him,
No.
and he says just do what's in front of you, and
Yeah.
it's very easy to get distracted by so many things in life, and by social media. Even sort of the wisdom app is relatively new to me, but it's quite addictive, and it's the our, our time. It's very easy to distract as opposed to attract,
Mm-hmm.
and and yeah, it feels if I get the sense that actually what this is saying to me is that I'm very often looking for external information on
Yeah.
how to move forward,
Mm-hmm.
and actually moving forward or doing what's in front of you is is part of the way, if not the way.
Yeah. That's the only thing you can do.
Yeah, but it's kind of like sometimes I have the feeling or the impression you need to collect so much information, or um, you need to uh, create a plan, or you need to you need to be have you need to over you need sorry you need to gather so much information so that you can overcome your fears, so that you can move forward safely. But
So I posted this quote today of mine on my email list, and you can find it on you can find this post today on Instagram and stuff. But it says, "Feeling comfortable is not something we need, but something we are coaxed into believing is necessary."
yes,
Right? And comfort comes from this place of like security. We want to know more. We want to see more. Like if you tell somebody I don't watch the news, they're going to say, "Oh, well, you don't know anything." And that's not true at all, because I know everything I need to know because it's in front of me.
yeah,
Here when we start looking at this verse, we say standing on tiptoes robs you of firm footing. Why would you stand on tiptoes? To look further ahead, to get a peek at something that you can't see, to try and be taller.
absolutely, to try and stand above the crowd
Yeah.
potentially. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah. So standing on tiptoes robs you of firm footing, but you have firm footing naturally. Just stop trying to see above everybody else.
yeah,
Rushing ahead robs you of knowing where you are. Every time you're looking forward at that thing, at that next thing you need, you're not recognizing where you are. You're looking into the future. You're looking at something that that you want to achieve, something that you want to have that you don't currently have.
Yeah,
Looking at yourself robs you of seeing. Like as you like instead of just being present here as you look at yourself and you try and like see how you compare to others, and that's what this whole like feeling comfortable is not something we need. All of that is about comparison. We're all trying to compare to others because we're afraid we're going to be left behind, so we got to compare. And I talk in that email all about this idea that we were born and our parents compared themselves to other parents, and then they compared us to our peers. We've always been working in this space of comparing you to everything else rather than being you with everything else. We're constantly looking at where we don't measure up.
absolutely. And yeah, and that conditioning that we have, and the yes, absolutely. And part of the work is to become aware of that conditioning. And it's interesting that you say, can you repeat that line about seeing? Because I got the impression, I thought introspection was actually quite a healthy thing.
So looking at yourself robs you of seeing. That doesn't mean introspection as much as it is when you look out at the world and you are comparing. Like that's the way I see it, right?
I
When you
see.
when we say looking at yourself, like you literally are looking at you as it relates to everything else.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
And when you look at you and you're looking at your identity rather than that introspection, that quiet stillness of being is introspection. Whereas like if you're practicing some introspective sort of practices, but those are riddled with judgment because you're looking at your identity, well, that's not really introspection. That's judgment.
Yeah, that's interesting. So things like, the idea of meditation, and going to a point where you're such stillness that you connect with, now whatever word you want to use, whatever you want to connect
Yeah,
with,
of course. Yeah.
whether
Hmm.
that's the Tao or source, or
Yeah.
whatever you feel it is, your higher consciousness.
But that's not you, right? That is, I mean, you are that, right? That
Yes.
isn't you, right? Like there's a difference there, right? Like looking at yourself is actually like I'm looking at this when I translate this, and this is in my notes and stuff about the idea of like, well, looking at yourself is looking at yourself as your identity, looking at your ego, looking at that which you want to achieve. All of these things like standing on tiptoes, rushing ahead, looking at yourself, boasting of yourself robs you of your brilliance because you are saying, I did this and this, but like your brilliance is deeper than that. I hear people all the time, even when I was talking to Kristen last, she was just like, I collect information by reading because it helps me do this. And it's like, don't limit yourself to that. Don't
Absolutely.
identify with that. Your brilliance is deeper than that.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I thought that was a very interesting point. And we learn through multiple senses, and multiple routes.
That's right.
And so, yeah, and we may have a preference for one or another, but it doesn't mean that the others can't
Can
grow.
inspire us on some other day in some other way,
Yes.
and it's fine. We don't have to limit ourselves to that one thing. And that's, as soon as you start boasting about yourself, you limit yourself to that thing you're boasting about.
Yes, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, of course.
Overpowering others robs you of your power. Clinging to your work robs you of longevity. Those are really deep, and I know that we only have a minute left, so I want to
Yeah.
just kind of read those again, and then we'll go to the last lines. Overpowering others robs you of your power. Clinging to your work robs you of longevity. I like that last one. Like when you cling to something, it's going to go away.
Yes. Yeah.
If you want to align with Tao, just do what is to be done and then stop. Don't cling, don't overpower, don't boast, don't look, don't rush, don't stand on your tiptoes.
That was great. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that. Yeah, I've got a lot. I've got a lot to take away and think about now. And I didn't realize you had a newsletter, so I will look for that and sign up for that.
Oh,
Thank you.
well, beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, my links are in my profile, so you can find me there, and definitely DM me on Instagram if you're over there, and we can be in touch. Thank you so much. I have a couple people in line. Kelly, I responded to you on Instagram today. Your plant wielding a machete. Plants wielding machetes. What is the world coming to?
That's exactly what I was wondering. How a weird headset on it now. Okay.
Yeah, there's some clicks, but that's all right. Like, you sound great.
Is the clicks me
No,
walking?
they're gone. Yeah, they might. No, no, no. It was
Okay.
just like I think when you said headset and you might have fiddled with something.
Okay. Good to
I
know.
don't know. How's
Thanks.
it been? How's the weather? Sounds great. Look at that big deep breath.
I just woke up and I'm trying to make myself get up every morning and go outside and walk for 10 minutes because it's good for your eyeballs.
It's
And
good for your eyeballs.
yeah, it's good for your eyes and your circadian rhythm. And I'm trying to get better at self
Uh,
care.
Good.
Yeah.
Someone needs to take care of yourself.
we, we all need to take care of ourselves. So it's good. I mean, you know a thing, but then when you're like, I just need to do something small. Like, you got to get the momentum. And so this was something that I was like, okay, I can do this. And
Yeah.
then it totally builds, it totally creates energy for other things when you do things like that. So,
Yeah, I went for a run this morning, which is a little rare. I don't run every day, but I did a 2 mile run this morning, and it
oh,
was it
wow.
was it was easy, and so I was like,
Hmm.
oh, maybe tomorrow I'll do a 5K.
Wow. How's your foot then? Is better?
Oh, yeah, no, like I was running for a while, kind of regularly, but recently I've been traveling and hosting my friend's Airbnb and doing all these other things, so I haven't run for a while, but yeah, no, it seems like it's doing well. So
Good.
yeah,
Good that it's healing.
yeah. So let's do some Tao. Let's see where
Let's
you're
get
at
our
today.
Tao on. All
Let's get our Tao on.
right.
Absolutely.
Let me close my eyes when I do this, and I like say a bunch of numbers, and then one pops out.
Okay.
43.
43. Writing my notes. Oh, this one is
Ooh,
entitled Be Silent and Learn.
this is great because that's what I've been talking about to myself the last couple days. Okay.
The flexible will outlast the rigid. The gentle will outlast the hard. Tao, which has no substance, has penetrated all, even that which has no space to enter. Though this Through this, I see that unforced action and silence are the only path to completeness. Action free of expectation and desire. This is the lesson of the nature of things. Listen to your nature, be silent, and learn. Hmm. This is the first time I'm reading this one with somebody here on Tao of the Day, so I'm intrigued by it as well. I'm going to go ahead and read it again if that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The flexible will outlast the rigid. The gentle will outlast the hard. Tao, which has no substance, has penetrated all, even that which has no space to enter. Through this, I see that unforced action and silence are the only path to completeness. Action, free of expectation and desire. This is the lesson of the nature of things. Listen to your nature, be silent, and learn. What are your thoughts here?
Hmm. There's another one that's similar about like water or like not forcing. And when you were talking to the person before, I thought right at the beginning you said something, and I was like, that's what Martin John's really good at is helping you see where to release attachment. And so
Mm,
that of course pops out attachments to outcomes specifically.
yeah.
And And then being still. I think I might have missed something in the middle, so let's break it
Yeah,
down.
let's go through it line by line. See, because like I'm I'm with you. Like I'm like, huh, what did I do here? So let's look at this. The flexible will outlast the rigid, the gentle will outlast the hard. So that seems very, straightforward. Like if you're flexible in your life, you will outlast the rigid. If you're gentle in your life, you're going to outlast things that are hard because, when I look at this, if you're rigid, you have to use a lot of energy to stay rigid. If you're hard, you have to use a lot of energy to stay hard. So being gentle and flexible are going to outlast those things. Okay, we know what that means. Tao,
Ooh, wait. That's
go.
good. Okay, a rock is hard, but they're not really using a lot of energy to remain a rock. They're kind of just being still, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, but they're being gentle in their stillness. That's my point.
Yes. So even though it's hard, it is
Our
like it is,
perception of it being
and it
hard.
is rigid.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a rock and if a strong wind blows and it goes ahead and rolls, it will it will be flexible about where it is and
Mm-hmm.
gentle. Now, the bigger stones that, like get eroded because they are rigid and they are getting blown and whipped about and, things are hitting it and it is, eroding it, then the gentle, the wind, is going to outlast that stone. So now we go into the Tao now. And there's an interesting thing here because it says which has no substance. Tao, which has no substance, has penetrated all, even that which has no space to enter.
Mm.
So let's compare that line or talk about that line from the experience of having read the flexible will outlast the rigid, the gentle will outlast the hard. Tao is the most gentle and the most flexible. We can assume it has no substance.
And it really is.
Without
It's
what's
the
that?
most it's the most accepting thing. Like there
Right.
it encompasses anything. It says all is fine, which is
And it's
yeah.
even penetrated the rigid. It's even penetrated the hard because it's even that which has no substance to enter. It has penetrated. So even in that rock that is hard, even in that mountain that is getting eroded, it has penetrated. And then we see that through this, I see that unforced action and silence are the only path to completeness. What does that mean?
Unforced action and silence. Well, I mean, like, imagine if you get really freaked out about, like, you're like, somebody's freaking out, throwing a fit or whatever. Like, they're riling themselves up. But if they're just like quiet with it and whatever's occurring in front of them, it's hard to say, but like, I'm picturing if you're having a disagreement with somebody, these headphones are freaking out right now. Then just being still, just being quiet with it. Like letting somebody just keep going and going and going. You go to counseling and you start talking and they're like, mm-hmm. You eventually like empty all out whatever it is you need to empty out, and then you're sitting there and you're like, oh, that feels better. Like you're not trying to force it. It'll just happen, and you'll find like balance or calm. That like, okay, that awareness.
I'm intrigued by this now because like we look at Tao, which has no substance. Imagine if you had no substance. Imagine if, like the counselor that you're speaking to that's like, mm-hmm. They have no substance. They are not trying to push up against you. They are not trying to get you to be anything else. There is no substance. There's no expectation. They don't hold substance. They are able to penetrate into that space without having to utilize their rigidity.
Yeah.
So through this, I see that unforced action, by not having substance, by not having expectation, it's interesting. I'm starting to see why I wrote this now. I get I understand now that I'm utilizing the word substance in more than just like Tao, which has no substance, not only physically, but it has no substance, meaning it has no direction it wants to take you. It has no expectation of where to go. It has no desire for itself.
It's not committed to being a certain thing. It's not to the
Right.
outcome, you know? It's
And
it just is. Yeah, so
and so
there's no
that's silence. That's unforced action and silence. Now we get into the last line, action free of expectation and desire. That's your substance. If you have substance, if you have a desire, if you have an expectation of where you're going to go, then you will move towards rigidity and you will move towards hardness, which will not outlast the flexible and the gentle. You know, have you ever gotten in an argument with someone and then um
not me. Mm-mm.
not you? Have you ever gotten in an argument with someone and either you or them decided to just yield, and then the person who was being like the most domineering ended up just kind of being like, "Oh, you know what? You might be right." You know what I mean? Like when you don't have a direction to bring the other person often meets you there. Action free of expectation and desire. This is the lesson of the nature of things. Where else can we see that happening?
I think even in an apology, like it's not to hyper focus either. You know, we don't need to put tremendous amounts of energy in jesting just by allowing. Again, my phone keeps breaking. Sorry, 1 second.
Keeps breaking.
Yeah,
There's a little hiss, but now it's gone.
it it keeps playing. I tried to play Raindrops last night to fall asleep, and it was a horrible sound clip. But it keeps playing it randomly, and I don't know why.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, it's awful.
No, it's awful.
Yeah.
Raindrops.
I think I don't know.
Being in the Southwest, that's probably a nice vibe.
It was actually raining here last night too, so that's funny.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
and you were playing like a raindrop.
Yeah. I turned it off. I was
Okay.
like, this sounds like a terrible recording. There's probably like uh,
This just sounds like static.
static. Yeah. Um, what was I saying? Oh, apologies. You know, like even apologies. Like you can apologize and then still expect somebody to forgive you, or you know, there's just this. There is such a freedom to like, I'm just gonna put this here, and however you want to take it is totally fine, or not at all. It just
Yeah,
it feels so good to just be able to do that.
yeah. This is the lesson of the nature of things. This is how when we observe outside of ourselves, like things happen without desire. Like they happen, you know. Like I mean, of course you want to eat or you want to do things, but like sometimes the most aligned thing you can do sometimes is not something
Hello.
that you plan that happen. Someone said
Something
hello.
wrong with my.
I
I
don't
don't know
know what is
what.
happening.
I don't either because there's like no apps on my phone anymore that are
Yeah,
open or anything. Like,
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe I mean it might just be this app. I don't know. I don't know that voice, so I don't know
I don't either.
who that was.
It's
So,
weird.
and
So
then we wrap this up with listen to your nature, be silent, and learn.
to your nature. Hmm.
This is the lesson of the nature of things: is action free of expectation and desire. So being flexible. Like if you have an expectation of what you want to get from something or what you want to experience, you are going to be rigid in how you want to possibly experience that. You won't necessarily be open to all of the possibilities because you may only be able to see the possibilities that you've seen before. So when we wrap this up and it says listen to your nature, listen to that which is asking you to act, but don't have expectation in what that action is going to bring and don't have desire of where that action is going to take you.
That is poignant right there. Yeah. It's so when I wake up sometimes in the morning, I can barely move. Like I have some, I don't know what the problem is, but there's a lot of inflammation, a lot of pain. Some days it's a lot worse than others. It lasts for a
Oh,
while, blah blah blah. But so just like getting myself out of the house can be hard. But today was one of those days where I could barely move when I woke up, and I just got up and I grabbed shorts and I just walked outside and just moving, even.
okay. I want you to come back and I want you to wrap that up. We ended with just moving. And then we'll bring you up. And then Lois, and I got Dr. Rao. I'm going to give you, there you are, Kelly. We're just going to get you in and get you to finish that up. You put on shorts, got moving.
Get you to finish that up. And yeah, and so I just leave the house. I was still talking. That's so funny. And I just left the house and I started moving. And while I'm doing it, I'm like stretching my spine and doing the things, but while just walking that I felt like I couldn't do. And I don't know what you said before that prompted me to share that, but it really is just I didn't expect to feel better, but I did. I don't expect to see better. I'm just going outside and I'm just doing this thing because I do believe in it, and it seems to me like it will be a good thing to do. But I'm not even committed or attached to it actually being a good thing. It could still hurt the entire walk. I wasn't thinking about it that way, and so, but I do feel better. Like it is lightening and lessening. And so,
Hmm.
it wasn't hard because I wasn't focusing on what it can be or what it will be, or just focusing on like doing this for me and that's it.
Yeah. And I am, like as I look at this number 43, I think it might be it might not be clear enough. So I want to make sure I go back and I look at it. So I'm really glad that we got to go through this and
Thank you.
I get to revisit. So thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful
Absolutely.
day.
You have a great day.
Well, bye.
Bye bye. All right, I'm bringing up Lois and then Dr. Rao. Dr. Rao, love you, brother. I hope you're doing well. If you have to go, understand, but I'll love to say hello. Lois, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Excuse me. Yeah, I just
Oh,
talked for the first time.
oh,
Okay.
bring it. Bring it. Bring it. Love it.
How you doing?
I am doing really well. I got I went and I saw the house that I'll be buying for the first time yesterday, and that was like that's a big deal. And like I got this beautiful silver maple tree in the back, and like all this
Mm.
space and all this fucking like it's scary and it's all the things, but I'm excited.
You got to let me know when you're in there and you're ready for visitors.
That's right. That's right. Because
Okay,
it's
I'm
gonna be
serious.
it's
I'm
gonna
not.
be
I don't just talk shit.
no,
I'm
I know,
serious.
and I'm like it's gonna be a little bit because like
I know that part because
yeah,
you
but
told me what was good. You had to
yeah,
do it
but
and
I'm
stuff.
just, like, and like, like I'm seeing that, the floor is uneven. So that means I got to make sure that, like all the sill plates and everything underneath the house are strong and everything. So,
Mhm.
there's going to be some work to be done, but I'm not afraid of it. And I'm looking forward to getting in and being, Andy's going to come out. She's going to help me clear some things up and clean some stuff when I get in there. And I'm going to be in my house. I'm going to be in my place.
Hey,
I'm gonna burn some incense and I'm gonna pray and I'm gonna just set up a really beautiful like energetic environment for me to do what I do.
yes.
Yeah.
I'm celebrating with you. I'm over here dancing, getting ready to
All
go out
right.
for my walk with my dog, and I'm saying doing a yeah dance.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Because I remember what that felt like. Because I had to get my house had them go in there and check the foundation and straighten it out and then put in floors. So I'm happy for you because I remember that journey, and
Mm-hmm.
it was not. I won't say that it was hard, but I won't say that it was easy either.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
it was a challenge because it challenged me on different levels because I had expectations of workers being there and
Yeah, and
You
and
know,
like I'm gonna take it all one step at a time. I'm just here now, and I'm just
there it
I'm just
is.
allowing myself to just be like, oh, there are feelings in my body, and let's look at those, and let's
Yes.
and like and let's just take that step back and know that, like, I am being held by, all things, and I am here, like, and I am in that house, and I am connected to all things, and there's beauty in that, and there's a like there is a course underneath that is kind of guiding everything, and I'm just here with it.
Wow. I'm so happy for you. I really am from the bottom of my heart. I am happy
Oh.
for you.
And I am super excited about your and Cece's celebration of the 1 year app, and tomorrow I'll be on doing my gratitude piece at, like, I think it's 3 a.m. my time, 4 a.m. Eastern, and so I'm excited to be presenting for that, and to be sharing gratitude with everybody here on Wisdom.
And I'm so grateful for you for coming on and being a part of the celebration. Did I tell you that we booked up all the 24 hours?
Yeah.
So now we're telling people to put hashtag 1 year of wisdom. So now we're trying to get every channel on gratitude.
Nice. Yeah,
So
yeah. And I'm gonna do a Tao of the Day tomorrow, and I'm gonna be doing hashtag 1 year wisdom, and
there you
I'm
go.
gonna do, like, I might even do the Tao of the Day at 3 o'clock tomorrow, and kind of
Man,
celebrate
or
gratitude.
recover yourself, man. Your recover
Oh,
yourself
hell
is like, hey,
yes.
cause you recover yourself, you gotta have some gratitude all the way that like
Yeah.
one step at a time. And that's what it took me for the house was I wanted it all done within a certain period of time, but then I let go of all the expectations of it. It just flowed, kind of like that doll you just read. It just flowed. I wasn't rigid. I got rigid at first. When I got rigid, I started falling to pieces because I was going through grief too, you know. And
Hmm.
every delay felt like a loss.
Yeah,
You
but
know, I
like,
mean,
there's
I'm
nothing,
being
like, we just gotta be present with what
yes,
is, and, like,
exactly. And then when I found that piece, everything worked out. But let's try number 7. I think that's a short one. I haven't had that in a long time since tomorrow's.
number 7.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. 7. The wisdom of not having preference.
That's
Tao is infinite. It doesn't grow old or tired. Because it has no preference for itself, it can always persist. The master puts herself last, and always finds herself first. By being detached from preference, she can give herself to what is and find fulfillment there.
oh, love it, love it, love it. And let's talk about it in lines of
Yeah.
scheduling people for this year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
There were several times where it was getting filled up, and I'd said, "Okay, take this time off for me. Okay, now take that time off for me," because I was trying to make sure that if anything went down, if I ain't nobody showing up, I was going to do it. And
Yeah.
so but I wasn't holding on to expectations of any particular time. And then finally, we thought we had a time for me, and then something else happened, and I needed to switch. But I just said, well, if it comes down to it, I won't be on the list. I'll just go on, and everybody stage. But as it's set, I didn't have to do that. Now I just open the room with 1 year wisdom and whatever. But I didn't. Even tomorrow, I don't. And I know it may sound crazy to you, but I do not plan on having to pull up a list and say it's your turn. It's your turn. I'm
That's
just gonna
right.
let it be. If people show up on their time, they show up. If they don't, hey, I'm gonna be there to pinch hit. Okay, I'm gonna flow
Right.
with whatever the hell it is. But I'm like I said, but it's my prayer that there's some going on every stage at every hour. Because if we lift this stuff, this gratitude up, blessings are gonna rain down. Because I know that when I change my vibration from the low vibratory part that sustains sickness and disease, I had to raise it, but I couldn't just raise it temporarily. I had to raise the complete base level, and that took step by step, line upon line, gratitude upon gratitude, appreciation upon appreciation, change of this, change of that, getting like Kelly, getting up, not knowing if I was gonna get to go anywhere, but getting dressed anyway.
Yeah.
And I did a whole lot of that because most times I never got anywhere because my physical body said, hell no, I won't go. It was fibromyalgia and migraines and oh my God, all kinds of stuff. But I would just get up expecting to just get up and get dressed. If I could get up and get dressed, that was all I needed. Now, if I made it out that door and got in that car and went somewhere, hallelujah. Okay. And I was saying hallelujah. I tell you,
Yeah.
it took me washing one window began my healing process. I said, okay, God, I'll dance in the street naked if I get healed. And he
Hmm.
said, no, just wash the one window. And I said, okay. And it was so hard because I had a bowl of water and a little towel because I could barely stand up. So I had to sit down. I had to sit down, stand up, sit down. I could barely use my hands.
Hmm.
So it took 8 hours to clean one freaking window. Okay. And I just celebrated that. And I was calling people and saying, I cleaned the window. And they were like, yeah, right, whatever. but but I recognized that when I did it because I had no expectations of the outcome. Did it because I was just doing what I was inspired to do. And that one small step led me to where I am right now. So I am oh, I am so grateful, and this gratitude is not just about this app. This gratitude is just about having gratitude about your life, period. And Dr. Rao, you got to come on tomorrow and open a room of dedicated to gratitude, a hashtag 1 year wisdom, and talk your stuff and do what you do because you keep peace and you stay in that nirvana state, and people need to know how to get there. People people need to know your method of how to get there. Everybody's gonna get there their own way, but everybody has to get there on their own. But yes. Oh, so this
Oh,
coming
that's
up.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as we read back through this, we see that like Tao is infinite. It doesn't grow old or tired.
Mm-hmm.
Because it has no preference for itself, it can always persist. And that's the thing. It can always persist. Just
Yeah.
like you're reading or you're washing the window. You just persisted. You
Yeah.
persisted. You persisted. And it doesn't you didn't grow old or tired doing that. You did it, and yeah, okay, you got tired, but you didn't grow tired.
No.
You just continued to persist. Why? Because you have no preference for yourself. You're just
No.
cleaning the window. The goal, the thing that you're inspired to do is to clean the window. You're not saying I don't want to clean the window. You're saying I am cleaning the window.
And
Period.
I
It
didn't
does.
say and I didn't say I can't clean the window.
Right. You just said, this is what I'm doing, bitch. Like, get out of my way. I'm going to do it. It's going to take
Okay.
me 8 hours. Fuck if I care about that. I'm going to clean the window because that's what I'm doing. I don't have a preference for myself. It's going to take me 8 hours. I don't want it to just be, I don't want it to be anything other than what it is. I'm here. I'm present with this. The
Yes.
master puts herself last and always finds herself first. You said, okay, well, the window is calling to be cleaned.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to not own my time. I'm not going to own my body. I am going to live in collaboration with this moment. The window is calling to be cleaned. I'm cleaning it. And so you put yourself last behind the window.
Mm-hmm.
And when you finished, you found yourself first because you cleaned the window.
Yes, and then it went on from that part to okay. The next day came. I said, "Okay, God, I cleaned the window yesterday. Now, what do you want me to do?" And He says, "Clean another one." And
Yeah.
I said, "Oh my God, it took 8 hours to do that window." And then He says, "Well, you don't have to stand butt naked in the middle of the street." And I got my ass up and cleaned,
Yeah.
and ended
And
up
that's it. You
cleaning
put
all the
yourself
windows.
last. You
Yeah.
put yourself behind the calling.
No matter how much pain I was in. And I'm not, when
Hmm.
I say it took 8 hours, not only because I wasn't strong, I didn't have a lot of strength at the time. It was also that I was also in severe pain. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so I like this one because the thing is that sometimes you can't worry about your ego, okay? Because my ego told me you can't do this. You in too much pain. There's no way you're gonna get this window clean. How you can't even stand up. So what are you gonna? How are you gonna get a bucket of water? You can't hold a bucket of. It did all that stuff. So I went and got a bowl. Okay.
Yeah.
A little cereal bowl at that. And when I wasn't a big bowl, it wasn't a little bowl that you make a big old salad in. It was a little plastic cereal bowl. Okay. And I had to
Mm.
keep going to fill it up to water.
Yeah.
Looking back at it, um, would I do it again? Hell yeah, I would do it again because it got me climbing mountains now, you know.
Yeah.
So
And
yes,
that's where this one ends up by being detached from preference. You didn't say, well, I want this to take 10 minutes or I want this to be easy. You just did it by being detached from preference. She
right.
can give herself to what is. You can give
Mhm.
yourself to what you're being called to do and
Yes,
find fulfillment there. You found fulfillment in washing that window. And yeah, sure, it took you 8 hours, but you found fulfillment in
yeah,
being here present with what is.
that's right. That's right. So I'd say I'm just that was a good one. That was a good
I'm
one.
glad.
So anyway, I'm gonna re-announce it again. So tomorrow is Friday the 7th, which is Wisdom's first anniversary, and tomorrow is going to be a day devoted to gratitude. Hopefully, on every stage on here, every stage will be devoted to gratitude because I know that since I've been on Wisdom, I can't say, "Oh, Wisdom made me who I am." That's not true. But I can say it has enhanced the fuck out of who I am. Okay, I'm gonna be
Damn
real.
right.
Okay. And I don't know anybody who got on this app in one state of mind who, no matter if they left early or if they not on here no more, they left with some growth, regardless to who they were. Because I know a few people are like, I'm not coming back on there because they got a little trigger, but they grew anyway. And now they know what their trigger is. So they know
Yeah.
what they got to work on. So even in that part, everybody I know that has been on here, even if they're not on here anymore, has got something. So I think that's something to be grateful for. It's coming to be grateful for your growth. If it's oh,
Mhm.
it's just the app. Yeah, it's just the app. But it was an app you came on and something sent you to so most people supernaturally, and you just grew. Okay, and you grew. And if you grew, come and tell us how you grew. And tell us what you did. Tell us who, if it was inspiration, whatever it was. And so my thing is when we all focus on gratitude, if we're all of one mindset, of one consciousness, when we're thinking about something as positive as gratitude, things are going to change. Because look what happened when one mind was focused on disease, COVID. Hell, the whole world fucking shut down. No, I'm serious. That was focused on negative. So that's why I want to see
Mhm.
what happens when we focus on positive. I know there's going to be nothing but good things. But I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, you will. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and bring up Dr. Rao. We're going to say hello, and we're gonna see if he has anything to add to all of this. Dr. Rao, how are you, my friend?
Hi, Martin. How are you?
Hello. I am well. I am well. I'm
You know
always,
that 43 you are reading,
yeah,
there's something about no commitment and no desire.
yeah,
And that is basically what is karma yoga is.
yes, yes. There's so much, like everything in here is karmic yoga. But yes, I'm so grateful. Please talk to me.
This is a commentary on modern tendency of desire for the ego, obviously, right?
Yes.
And then the profits, that is the expectation. The whole civilization is built on that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why so little peace and so little real happiness.
Yeah.
So action that is desireless, people are not able to understand how can I have to have this, I have to have a desire, I have to have a goal, I have to have all this.
I want my action to produce something. I
Yeah,
want my action to,
understandable,
yeah,
understandable if they are
of course.
perplexed,
Yeah.
but the thing is, uh, like this was explained very well in Bhagavad Gita. How he
Yes.
explains says the man, the prince who is asking all questions of this.
Mhm.
Uh, so uh, he's a prince, actually a worldly man, right? He's all of action. And he comes to the war field with the desire of defeating his cousins who are, really unjust and then really not righteous people, and they snatched their kingdom away and they would not give it back, right?
Hmm.
So they had to wage a war. So he had to have a desire of getting the kingdom back, and he want to defeat his cousins, right?
Hmm.
Then, when he really comes to the war field, he faces all his cousins, his grandfathers, his uncles, his teachers, and everybody on the other side. He is so related to them for so long. So, suppose somebody asks you to kill your teacher, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this man gets into the perplexity of I'm here to fight, but I can't fight because this particular thing is really making me feel very down. He actually gets down completely on himself.
Yeah.
And he is somebody who is so brave, who defeated so many people in so many wars. He gives up his arms and then really slumps into the chariot's chair.
Hmm.
That is called first chapter. The whole thing is about how he laments, how he says, "Oh, I don't want to do this for the sake of money and material. I don't want to kill my own people just to enjoy this kingdom and all that."
Yeah.
And he is so depressed, he cannot really handle his own arms too. His things are there, right? His bow and arrow and all that. He
Yeah.
could handle that. So, how do you tell this man? What do you tell him? Do you tell him all these material things are important for you, and then you can kill other people and everybody in the family just to get your simple
Your
things?
land back. Yeah. Your
Yeah,
your simple.
that's the
Your
one.
yeah.
So for you, if you look at it in the beginning, it looks like all he's talking was very, very sensible. Then that's where the explanation of the life is given to him. Like why? The Gita is not about inaction. It's,
Right.
it's about action,
Yes.
right?
I
It's
love that.
about,
It's like the Bhagavad Gita is such a beautiful sort of like, and I have not read the whole epic.
yeah.
I've
But
only read the Bhagavad Gita,
anyway,
but I
topic
do
is,
understand
yeah,
I do know of the story that the Bhagavad Gita leads into. But
yeah. Yeah, no, it's a very deep study if you want to take it. But it's not like it's not a Hindu text. It's about life, lifestyle, personality, action, and all
hmm.
this other what it goes into meditation. So many things are there. Anyway, a lot of debates goes on the Bhagavad Gita, but the main thing is you got to realize what you are killing.
Yes,
That's what it tells him. You are
yes.
killing
Oh,
a
beautifully put.
body and mind, but not the spirit is there. That is eternal.
Yes, you
Once you,
cannot kill that. You cannot
yeah,
kill your
yeah,
teacher
yeah,
as that.
yeah. That's the way people don't understand because they feel this body and mind are permanent, and they are the ones that they are going to attach to it. So they are so scared of leaving that.
Oh, so like that's so beautiful.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's why that's where what it is that is the ego, that is called ego in the sense me sense, right? Uh,
yeah,
and that's where people get lost, and that is where the desire and all that comes, and that is the one which looks for the whatever the expectations it has.
yes,
So now, what is desireless action? Where does it come from? Where does it get the propulsion, origin, and everything? Why you should not really aim for the whatever thing that he was talking about in the 43? What he talked about: don't expect and don't have any desire.
yeah. Free of expectation and desire.
Yeah, that's you want to understand that in your real life too. That would add so much more.
Yeah.
Basically, what it is if you think you are free will and then you're going to determine everything and you're going to create your own life with your own thoughts and desires and emotions, and then you're going to occupy the life, it may look like you are doing it, but eventually life comes and tests you.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, right? Everybody, either disease, accident, or even the biggest corporate person, they may have some material things, but if you look into their deeper self, they get over these material things very quickly, or they are succumb to it, and then
Yeah.
they say, okay, we are burned out, we don't have any meaning, we don't have emptiness and all that, right?
Yep.
That's what is happening. We see that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we see it everywhere.
So if we tell somebody don't have expectations, they say, oh, then why do I have to do everything? That's the standard
Yeah.
answer, right?
And that
But then,
yeah, like it's always difficult because that
yeah,
immediately goes into
yeah,
another thing
yeah.
in the Tao, at least, that we talked about earlier. It's like having to prove yourself. You don't have to prove yourself.
You see, modern people, no matter what they say, they don't realize that they are coming from their egoic entity, and they have never touched about that entity behind the ego, which is the real true self, right?
Yes.
That's why he was talking about silence,
Mm-hmm.
learning, and that's really the truth, because your inner nature, your true nature, comes out when your mind is quiet, silent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then,
Listen to your nature. Be
yeah,
silent and learn.
then
Like,
there is no expectation from you, and
that's
there's
right.
no desire because you don't have that ego movement at all. See, the problem is people really wrapped up so much in that. I'm going to desire this, I'm going to work for it, I'm going to important. But what they don't understand is yoga, yogis, especially yogis, and all these people who are spiritual in the old age, are what they did was they were free of the desire and expectation, and then went and worked perfectly. See, that is the
Mm-hmm.
key. That's the key. So this was a
Yeah.
big lesson for me too, and way back in '80s when I was examining all this. It's very confusing, right? We are brought up like you got to think, you got to desire. If you want to desire for a simple house, you want to have that, and you have to work for it. You have to get them out. All those
That's
things
right. Yeah.
they taught us, right? But then these people said, no,
That's right.
that's not it, because if you really understand your true self and station in that, then what happens is that true self has no desire.
Mm-hmm.
But then the true self is more aligned with the divinity, and the divinity decides what you'll be doing in life.
That's right.
So
It will it will present to you.
yeah, it is not presented; it's just kind of there. Divine will.
Yeah, it just happens in
Yeah,
your life.
some
Your
people
life
say,
just
"Oh, it
unfolds.
is all divine will means the destiny. That means everything is right. And if it's everything is right, why do I have to work on that?"
Right.
No, there is a design where you are assigned a role, like,
That's right. And you
and
live in collaboration with you
yeah,
you you
yeah.
live you live like not as yourself, like as your physical mind or body, but you live in collaboration with Tao or Brahman, or you live
No,
in collaboration.
Tao is not a thing. Tao is
Right.
there, direct you.
Yeah.
And then you don't know that. But the thing is, once you are aligned with that, then whatever comes, you watch. Whatever goes, you watch. Then the force within you lets you do things.
Yes.
See, See, that's the key about it. So what it is desire is for the ego, expectation is for the ego. But then once you see the real self, because ego is but for the shadow of your real self, and the real self is part of the Tao, part of the Brahman.
Yes.
And that is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. If you read one poem, Ramana Maharshi said, one poem only in Bhagavad Gita, that's in chapter 10, verse 20. You know what it says? He says, he is the Brahman, or he is the Tao, the Krishna. He says, I am the one who is in the every living being. I am the beginning, I am the middle, I am the end of it.
Mm.
So once you are aware of that, that's why he tells, because Arjuna, how can you come from that kind of repression by a few hours of this discussion and come back and then go and do. He does very good work after that. He kills so many of his own people on that because he knows he's not really killing the real spirit.
Yes.
And he
And
also,
he can, like,
and that,
I always look at that as being like killing with this like love and gratitude of like the being.
no, that's all again your ego talking. Well,
Okay.
let me say one thing. That's
Yep.
not something outside of it. It's the same thing, you know. But he says something else at the end of the Bhagavad Gita. Man is like a is wrapped up around a machine which is propelled by the divine.
Hmm.
So your life is kind of goes according to that, but then it's not like a defined thing according to the culture or anything. It's defined by the divine plan.
Yeah.
So people take it like a play and then say, I'm an actor playing something that is designed to be, and the director is somebody else.
Hmm.
So when I have the change is very remarkable, Martin.
Yeah.
When when I perceived that it is not that I would say everything this time and sit down. That's not action either. This inaction is not action either.
Right.
Understanding divine will direct you, but then you got to be ready, you got to be participant and do that.
Right.
Krishna tells this, see, I don't have to do anything, but I still do action.
Yeah.
But when I do the action, I do it with this sense of the play, the things that we do. And then I don't want any expectations. I don't want anything from that because I am already fulfilled.
Yeah.
The same thing with us too. Once you realize that part of that uh, divine force is in everybody the same, the difficulty is everybody talks a lot, says a lot, but don't touch that.
Yeah.
That is really up to each person, though. We cannot really say this person is there. So who knows? He
Yeah.
only
Right.
he knows. Only he
Yeah.
knows. So
Yeah.
we,
Yeah. You cannot. Yeah. There is that.
and
There
then
is
we
a.
don't have to also, because we can only know that state, stay that state, and work and live the life, and then it reflects on other people. And then if you can give. That's what I do. I give the explanation to the best of my knowledge so that people thinking and working on their own, they can figure it out.
Yeah. They can
See?
because they are the divine.
Yeah. So it's like this: Brahman or Tao, they don't do anything. They're like a screen.
Right.
Everything is projected on screen is something different, and then that is projected and that plays on, and you just watch it. But
Yeah.
the Tao or the Brahman are not touched at all.
Hmm. Well, you dropped off. If you wanted to come back up and finish that, although I do believe that you were probably close to done. Nope. And we're going to bring you back up, and then we're going to move on to Julie. Julie, hold on if you can, just a little longer. I want Dr. Rao to finish up his thoughts.
So that 43 flows everything from that silence, and
Yes.
work that is silent means desireless. Work from no expectation is also silent. So first you become silent in the sense your superficial cognitive mind and association with it, identification with it will be silenced because you understood, not forcibly you're doing silent, but you understood. And out of an understanding, this movement stops. It comes when you want to. Suppose I want to talk to you about something, came up and then talked about it. But it's not really enforces like I have to do this, or the movement of I am the one who is telling, so I'm the big shot. That's also sattvic ego, you see. And
Yeah.
so there's no movement at all. And then when you want to use the thought, you can use that instrument, but all the way establishing yourself in yourself, real self, so
Yeah.
I have a saying that I read every day, almost not every day, I remember it all the time. Is it uh, one has always poised to be in oneself, one's real self. That's Ramana Maharshi saying, he
Yeah.
wants us to be all the time. But the thing is, when you're exposed to other minds, we tend to go to our mind and talk to them at the mind level and then go back, try to go back.
That's what
That,
you're always warning me about.
yes, that's how, you see what it is. Suppose you are a man, somebody has to tell you are a man.
No.
No, right? The same thing. Suppose you know your real self. Do somebody have to remind you that you are that? But you
Nope.
fall off because when you relate to the all these people who are still in the manomaya kosha or mind layer, and they don't know that they are doing from that because they never touch the inner real self.
Yeah.
But that's there all the time. Everybody has it.
Always. Yeah. It is always there, no matter
Yeah.
who
But
you
your
are, no matter what you are.
question is, are you established in that? Then you are doing everything because the divine will direct you what needs to be done, and then you do it without any expectation and without really any desire about anything.
Yeah. And you
Yeah,
just get
that's
to
how.
and that's a freedom that most people
Yeah.
don't ever get to experience.
No, they are imposing lack of freedom on them.
Right. Yeah. That every identity, everything we identify with,
Yeah,
every time we have an expectation, every time we open up our mouth to
there is a
describe or to
there is an
express.
exercise, Martin. You may try it.
Yeah.
Before you go to bed every day, every night, right?
Yeah.
Dissociate all that you are associated with, your name, your gender, your
Yeah.
role, your whatever you have associated with. Just dispose it off and sleep on the empty slate. And then you know what that does is it does provoke this chitta, that is the uh, intelligence that's beyond your regular mind movement and all that. That's a
Yeah.
different way of description was there in yoga. Um, uh, they called it manas, buddhi, ahankara, and chitta. Manas is all the memory, all the learnings, everything that we have done, right?
Yeah.
Buddhi is our discriminatory facility of intellect. And then
Mm.
ahankara is that little ego that identifies itself with everything,
Mm.
right? So that's uh, anka 3. But the fourth one is what? The chitta. That is the
Cheetah.
intelligence that is there beyond all these three. But
Yeah.
most of the people are stuck in either manas or buddhi or ahankar. Most of them are egoistic. Most of them think intellectual. And
Yeah.
then this intellectual I'm seeing on the wisdom app also, they have a very loud mouth. So if you ask them, are you silent? They will say, oh, not all the time.
Yeah.
But they know that's a tragedy, but we don't have to belittle them. But that's a tragedy in the sense they suffer sooner or later.
Yeah. 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 And that suffer that we
Yeah.
we
No,
that that we
basically,
invite because we are
yeah, no,
we are in ego.
basically, we are operating from our limited self rather than identifying that unlimited self that is there.
Yes.
So that's all I want to tell you, Martin.
Well, thank you so much, and I always love to listen and just be present with that, and I do like this. I like I'm looking forward to sleeping on emptiness.
Yeah, try to do that, and it will yield tremendous results. I'm telling you.
Yes. Well, thank you. I appreciate your wisdom.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye. Okay, we're gonna bring Julie on. We're gonna go ahead and dip back in. Thank you, Dr. Rao. It's so beautiful to be your friend. Julie, another friend.
Hello.
How are you, my love?
I am blown away.
Oh, yeah? Is it windy out there?
Oh, Dr. Rose just takes you on a beautiful journey,
He sure does.
and I appreciate that. He has a
Yeah,
lovely
probably.
way. He assists me to kind of understand what he's trying to share. Really,
Yeah, and as Dr. Rao would say, there's nothing to understand, right?
absolutely, yeah,
And so it's always, there's always in this journey or whatever, like we are always, connected to everything, and that is the standard. That is
mm,
happening right now, and if we don't identify with that, I think, like, and maybe I'm expressing this wrong, but if we don't, if we're not in that, if we don't know that, if we don't associate with that, then, like, and it's always words, and words are always so limiting, and they mean things, and, like, I am definitely stuck in, I am always still stuck in the physical, not always, I suppose, but, like Dr. Rao says, don't come out of it, stay in it. And,
mm,
and I do think that there would, and, like, I'm hoping that, I can continue to, just be more connected, and be more silent. So those are
mm.
things that we hope we can achieve. Or not, it's not even achieving, right? Like, because that's the thing. That's, and even hope. It gets it
Yeah,
gets all it gets all convoluted, because, like, even hope is a desire. It's just like, I am
yeah,
here, like being here, being now, being as I am, no matter what, and saying what I say without thinking, without trying to intellectualize it, and just allowing this moment to be, and not expect, and not be terrorized by the next moment, and not allow it to dictate anything.
yeah. Just be with the flow.
Yeah, just be in it right now.
Mm.
What is this? What is happening right now?
What
Can I?
is happening? I have had a number. Right, I've come to you with this number.
Oh, yeah.
It's been there for quite a while. I've mentioned it a couple of times actually when I've done talks. It's the number 60. And I thought, to me, it's a very physically looking round number.
Yeah.
The 6 is the beginning to me of a spiral, which was always good. And I thought, I want to talk to Martin John and I'm going to ask him about the number 60.
Okay, well, we have a title of Combating Evil,
Hmm.
and we move into while governing anything, use restraint. Treat it like cooking a small bit of fish. Getting it perfect takes less than you think. Centering all things in Tao, evil, with nothing to oppose, returns to its state of illusion. All harm dissipates in the face of those that know their true selves. And your true self is that which is connected to Tao. All harm dissipates in the face of those that know their true selves.
That's nice, isn't it?
Like
Uh,
we
that's the
started.
wrong word. That's the wrong word. Nice. I know that straight
Yeah.
away.
Well,
But
so, like, and we're using words, so that's
yeah,
hard to. It's always
it's
hard to.
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
now let's look at this. So this is the title is Combating Evil.
hmm,
So when governing anything, use restraint. So
yeah.
being a grandmother, use restraint. Use, like, allow things to be as they are. Treat it like cooking a small bit of fish. Getting it perfect takes less than you think.
Mm.
If you're going to be cooking a fish, like, you're not going to prod it throughout your cooking. You got to,
You're going to allow it to do what it is doing.
right. And you look at it, and then at some point, you flip it over, and it's done. And it's not about you doing anything. You just let it be cooked.
You're not the cooker. You're
You
not the
know,
flame.
that's right.
Yeah, that's it.
And then if you're governing anything, that means being a parent, being a grandparent, being a boss, being a, like, even if you're, you know, in a conversation, I'm even probably the one that could be said is governing this thing, this stage or whatever here on wisdom. And if I'm doing that when governing anything, I need to use restraint, which means I need to give you space. I don't want to take all of the space up. So I treat it like a small bit of fish. Getting it perfect takes less than you think. I don't have to inject myself into this.
Yeah.
Just like you don't have to inject yourself into the life of Millie,
Absolutely.
right? Or your daughter.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, her.
Yeah.
I'm only kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah, she has her own space. She has her own path. She has her own thoughts, her own feelings. And if I become where I'm trying to poke and prod, she's not going to be flowing freely.
Right.
She's not going to be walking her path the way that she's going to walk a path anyway.
Right. But we know that she is being guided by Tao just like we are. And so we
Yes,
don't have to poke and prod. All we have to
absolutely.
do is be silent, like we were talking with Dr. Rao.
Mm.
We just be quiet. We don't have to interject. And then we have this next line, centering all things in Tao. Like understanding that all things are centered in Tao, centering them in your mind, in your body, in your life, in your understanding, making sure that all things are in Tao, in your mind. Evil will have, with nothing to oppose, returns to the state of illusion.
Yeah.
Evil. That means like if you're governing something, like if you're worried about your daughter, worried about like those are all you're worried about the evil things, bad things. You've created those things in your mind. But when
Correct.
you know that all things are centered in Tao, as Dr. Rao was telling us, it's in everything. There's no like we that's the turmoil, not knowing that everything is centered in Tao. And yes, okay, someone's doing something that is causing evil. We also know that that person, that event is centered in Tao, and there is purpose behind it.
Yes.
The turmoil that they're going to experience because they are trying to dictate something is not a bad thing. That is something that is also centered in Tao.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so and so all of those judgments return to the state of illusion. All of the good and the bad. No, this is what is. This isn't good. This isn't bad. It isn't right. It isn't wrong. It is this. And so evil, with nothing to oppose, returns to a state of illusion. And that's interesting. Evil with nothing to oppose.
Hmm.
How do you feel about that?
Um, if you pose something, then you are trying to um, you're trying to change something or move something, or so if it needs to oppose, then it needs to be the flip side of good.
Right, which means that you have an expectation.
Yes. So you're naming it,
Right. That's
which
right.
then creates it. It
Yeah.
creates the levels,
Yeah.
the equilibrium scales. So if you put something on one scale, the other scale will move up, become lighter. So that's what it is. That's when you create one thing, the other also exists.
That's right.
So if you don't create that thing, the other one doesn't exist either.
And your creating it is just an illusion.
Yes.
Centering all things in Tao, evil, with nothing to oppose, returns to a state of illusion.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back through this. When governing anything, use restraint. Realize, like, use restraint. It's not saying don't govern things, it's saying use restraint. Don't try to control, just be like, treat it like cooking a small fish. To get it perfect, it takes less than you think. Like when you go into being a parent, you think, I got to, 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 I got to do all these things.
Yeah.
But to get it perfect takes less than you think.
Correct.
So when parenting, use restraint.
In my case, I have one saying that kind of helps me with that in all things. And it's one of my favourite things I ever heard from when I was a young kid. Que sera, sera.
Yeah. Whatever will be, will be.
Yes, that's it. I love that. And that
Yeah.
keeps me equilibrium. It keeps me not creating so that the opposing doesn't occur as well.
And so if you can get rid of, if you can live by que sera sera,
Mm.
like if you can live by that, you will have restraint. You'll just, everything will center on Tao. And then we come to this last time. All harm dissipates in the face of those that know their true selves. All harm dissipates in the face of those that know their true selves.
Yeah.
There is no harm that can come to you when you know yourself.
Yeah.
When you know your true self, not just your identity, not just
Not just
whatever.
my thoughts or my
Yeah,
feelings
not just right, or your
or,
body or
yeah,
whatever. Like, yeah,
or
okay,
my
your body.
physicality or
Yeah,
my
like when you,
title or,
yeah,
yes,
or
that
your
true
money or
self.
any of that.
Yeah, that true self comes in the silence that Dr.
Yes.
Rao was talking about.
And then, you let go of what it's supposed to be. You let go of your expectation, and then
Mm.
evil with nothing to oppose. When you have an expectation, evil or bad things will oppose that. And it's like, I want it this way. Well, guess what's coming through the door? That way, right? You
Yeah,
just, it's like, if I want it this way, that way is coming to let you know what you're missing.
yeah.
So
Here's
centering.
your black to your white. Here you go.
That's right.
Yeah, fantastic. So that is great. That is 16
That's
on
16.
your version,
Yeah, that's mine,
which
and I
is
appreciate. I don't think
lovely.
we've read that yet, so I really
No.
appreciate you coming up and reading it with me.
Well, you must have popped it into the ether there. Popped it
Well,
in
there are plenty of these that I
16.
haven't read yet,
16.
so we will we will get through them. We will get through them in time.
I'm enjoying them. I like them because, for me particularly, I like the way that they're presented in a style that is kind of understandable for me. Because
Yeah.
sometimes I find that ancient sort of readings, I will miss it because of the wording, because of the circumstance, because it's not within my vocabulary to understand that. So
Mm.
your translation is really comfortable. I can really give it some absorption.
Oh, that's good. And I always like to. I always like the going through it with somebody else as
Mm,
well, because like you can read it, and it could just be like, I'm confused. I don't know.
mm,
Even my translation like can be that way, where you read it, and if you don't, that's why it's so important for me to sit with my guests and for 15 minutes and then go through it line by line and look at different lines relating to one another, because sometimes when you read something like this, the first line and the last line, even though you've read them together, have don't get connected within the middle.
yeah,
No, and I've tried to do that. I've tried to make that, because I know when I read Stephen Mitchell's, I could get lost somewhere along the line, even, and his is like a quintessential translation. But
mm,
I've tried to make it even more connecting. You know, like if we look at this, when governing anything, use restraint. Treat it like a small fish. It takes less than you think. Centering all things in Tao, evil with nothing to oppose, like that could come out of nowhere. Evil with nothing to oppose. What do you mean? So then when we talk about it, we get to really explore. Well, what does that mean? What is evil? Well,
yeah,
evil is like, you would only govern things heavily if you thought there was something bad happening.
yeah. Or if you felt that if you, without your control, things would go
Right.
awry. And awry
Absolutely.
would be the evil, you see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
that's what, like, all harm dissipates in the face of those who know their true selves.
Mm,
And then so even though it might be easy, it's not.
absolutely. It's something that you practice.
You come back up and finish that unless you're done. I just wanted to give you that opportunity to come back up and say goodbye. Yeah, it is. It's like when I read it, yes, I get it, but I want to make sure that people do understand and can put it together.
Yeah. Well, that's, you're good at that.
Well, I'm very glad. Julie,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I'm looking forward to showing gratitude tomorrow, we'll be seeing you soon.
We will. I'll be
All right.
showing gratitude too. You know
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Love you so much. You have
I
a
love you.
wonderful evening, and we'll be in touch.
Take care, darling. Love you. Bye bye.
Ciao. Okay, well, that's it for today. I think that's been a 2 hour Dow. Whoa, 2 hours for the Dow. Like, I don't do that very often, but I am doing it these days just because, like I got this translation. Might as well present it for some time. Thank you so much for joining me for Dow of the Day. I am signing off so I can eat. I have another meeting in an hour, so I want to be able to cut away from this and give myself a little opportunity to freshen up, as it were. Thank you so much once again. This is Tao of the Day. I'm your host, Martin John, the Recovery Mentor. If you benefit from the work that I do here, consider giving me a financial tip through Venmo at @MartinJohn_Garcia. If you wanted to talk any more about my work, find me over on Instagram and DM me. I would be happy to connect with you. You can go to my website, martinjohn.com, and sign up for the newsletter and other things if that's something that you are interested in. I'm always talking about recovery, Tao. My work is all encompassing with things of that nature, and being yourself. I want you to recover who you are, not who you're living under the influence of. We are all living under the influence of many things, and when we can be present with who we are truly, then we can get closer to being at peace with all that is. Thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, keep recovering yourself.